Among the industry's bracing for impact, auto parts suppliers. Joining us here at Post 9, Jay Craig, CEO of Meritor, a global manufacturer of drivetrain, braking, and suspension parts. Thanks for joining us here on set.
Great to be here. Thank you very much.
In terms of these Mexico tariffs, let's start there. Your expectation for the implementation of them, and we were just having a discussion in the last block about what that would do if you were to see them potentially ratchet up to 25% to jobs and to manufacturing here in North America.
Sure. Well, as you would expect, we make plans as soon as we hear policy changes that are proposed, like the ones in Mexico. So we're going through the planning phase. We think we can withstand the change that could be implemented on Monday without missing any of our near-term expectations at this point in time.
Would you pull forward any inventory across the border ahead of higher potential tariffs?
I don't think with the initial levels that have been proposed so far. Certainly if it ramps up to 25%, that's something we would have to look to consider to do.
We also have a lot of manufacturing in China as well. How much of that is parts that are moving back and forth between the U.S. and China, and how much of an impact is that on the company?
Well, fortunately for us, we produce locally for the markets we're in. Obviously, with NAFTA and with the new USMCA, we consider Canada and Mexico part of that region for the U.S. But the Chinese tariffs have had very little impact on us because of that.
Would you do more manufacturing in the U.S. if you were to see tariffs, be it Mexico, be it China, become a more permanent thing?
Well, certainly the key word there is permanent. A capital-intensive business like ours, we're making plans 3 to 5 years out in investments. So we just have to see the stability and really have confidence that that's the new environment for the long term. And certainly if it was higher tariffs, we would make plans to produce more in the regional markets with that we could be protected from that.
What's going to tell you, though, whether or not this is more permanent than temporary?
That's been the most difficult challenge, obviously, for all of us. Our manufacturing associations, like National Association Manufacturers, that's been their big objection, is we're not necessarily for or against any single policy. It's just the stability you need in capital-intensive businesses such as ours.
Do the industry groups feel like they are making a case convincingly in Washington? Or is this like running up a hill?
I believe they do. I think the one thing you can compliment this administration on for sure is they do have an ear for industry input. Now, do they always listen to it? We wouldn't necessarily expect them to, but we believe the industry has a seat at the table.
We talk about, on air, people come on and they talk about shifting supply chains like you just turn off the lights. But can you describe to viewers what it's like to vet a new supplier, get a new contract, arrange new distribution? I mean, that is a massive undertaking, isn't it?
It is, and even changing your own production, which is very similar. So we are constantly doing significant investment in our plants. Those lead times, again, are 3 to 5 years. We're redoing a significant amount of one of our major plants in the U.S. right now. And just to order the equipment has an 18-month lead time, much less the planning and then the installation and the quality checks you want to do.
You know, I'm curious from a management standpoint. Your time, you only have so much of it. You talked about planning here often, planning that you might not have to have done if things were just sort of the way they had been. What is that taken away from? What is that time that you've spent worrying, thinking, planning, taken away from that you otherwise would have been doing as a CEO?
Well, this will sound funny. I don't worry about much, and this isn't something I worry about. It's something we plan through. And it does, every single change does require additional time to be invested by management to make plans to adapt to those changes. So I won't mislead you. It has added to that list of things we have to plan for. Would it be better not to have to put another item on that list? Certainly. So we could continue to focus on growth like Meritor has. We've grown over 40% since 2015, and I'd like to continue that run. We've more than doubled earnings per share since 2015. I would like to continue to focus on those things.
On growth initiatives, perhaps.
Yeah, that drive direct shareholder value. But, sitting in my seat, if you can't adapt to issues that come up like this, you probably should look for something else to do.
Just to dig into the growth initiatives a little bit more, and certainly your stock's up something like 30% since the start of the year. I mean, this is a recent headline in the New York Times. Car industry is under siege. You've got car ownership becoming optional in the age of Uber. Obviously, all the trade stuff we're talking about. And also the fact that you have auto sales slipping globally. Where's the growth coming from?
Well, we are exclusively heavy commercial trucking around the globe. So we are the largest supplier to the commercial truck industry in every region of the globe. And we've chosen that path intentionally because we think it's a significant growth market. And we've ridden the growth of those markets, but also captured significant market share as well.
Specific to Mexico, just to sort of end on what everybody's focused on, given it may happen as soon as Monday, what if it's 5% and then it's going up? I mean, you talk about 3 to 5 years, but what will be your immediate, if any, reaction in terms of the way you potentially change your business, given obviously you have a plant there that manufactures gear sets for steer axe assembly carriers for export?
Yeah, we actually have 3 significant facilities there, including one of our largest manufacturing facilities in the world through a joint venture. Again, if it's 5%, I think that's manageable, certainly manageable by us. If it ramps all the way up to 25%, it's an industry issue, and it's hard to see where pricing through the entire chain to the final buyer doesn't have to occur to compensate for that. But our industry has been very good at adapting to change, and I'm sure it will over time. It's just those times of disconnection such as this where you really have to keep your feet under you.